one of my ulterior motives here is because I've experienced the digging process of trying to find out who's doing what in another agency on Arctic research. I figure other folks should have probably the same problem with us. And I thought I would put this presentation not just as science highlights, or even not primarily as science highlights, but as sort of a key to who's doing what in DOE. And so hopefully this will be a decent reference for you guys if you want to go back to it and find out, okay, whose door should I knock on for a given topic. So I've done it right, you'll get that. If not, well, the person with the next talk can do better. In general, if you go to the second slide, I'm just going to cover, as I say, some of that. Why are we doing this? I'll briefly go over some of the other major DOE projects that are not strictly in our atmosphere team, and then home in on some of what we're doing atmospheric-wise. And a lot of that will deal with ARM, both the facilities and the campaigns, and then some of the process research projects that I fund. So if you go to slide 3, here from hopefully visible on your screen is an outline of an org chart at the very top of DOE. And most of these boxes, I'll give you a hint, they might be important to you from an energy standpoint. Many of them are not important to anybody outside my agency. And others are not significant from an Arctic research standpoint. But there we are. And my little red circle box is where essentially everybody that participates in IARPIC lives. The tree or branch of the tree on which that's a limb really funds a lot of what we call energy research and development. But some of which have Arctic implications or interests, but none of the people I'm aware of are in the Arctic regime. My screen just finally showed up, so I can see you on WebEx. So anyway, we are in the Office of Science with a little red circle around it. And if you go to the next slide, I will drill down and show you the Office of Science in sort of another level of boxes. Most of, DOE funds a lot of basic research in the physical sciences. If you look at the shaded boxes, you see a lot of it is big science, big energy stuff. But I live in the box down at the bottom in the Climate and Environmental Sciences Division, which is part of the Office of Biological and Environmental Research. Again, most of the people you will encounter in IARPIC are in Gary Gunner's division. And drilling down yet further, the next slide, I put names on this next set of boxes because some of them you will know. Uh-oh. I just lost my, there. Thank you. The division itself is focused on climate research, and specifically our mainstay is the centerpiece of it is climate modeling. The programs in the kind of ugly reddish color in the middle are our climate nerve system modeling programs, and we fund all of the DOE funded climate modeling enterprise and a lot of the NCAR research. And our mainstay model is the the Community Earth System model, which is hosted out of NCAR. The modeling enterprise is supported by 2 observational wings. On the nice bio green leg on the right is where Mike Kuperberg lives, and most of you science leg has a major project in the Arctic called NG Arctic, and I'll give an overview of that. I will also give a little bit of an overview of some projects in the modeling enterprise itself, which extend to and beyond atmospheric topics. And then where I live is in the sky blue atmospheric sciences area over to the left. Atmospheric System Research, my program with Shaiman Nasri as my co-program manager, funds process research in the sciences, in the atmospheric sciences. The actual observations are performed almost exclusively by the Atmospheric Radiation Measurement, or the ARM Research Facility. And Sally McFarlane is the current lead for that. Rick Petty is a co-program manager and involved in especially in aerial measurements. So moving on to the kind of work that's the interest that some of these actors are involved with. In the next slide. As I said, our Arctic research interests are climate-focused primarily. In the terrestrial wing, we have a major project called NG Arctic that is involved with carbon cycle work, hydrology, interested very much in what happens in the permafrost and how good descriptions, observational descriptions of these can be worked into land model processes to feed climate models. In the Earth system modeling leg of our chart, what we're interested in, again, is these global and regional climate models and how we get some of the unique or different stuff, processes that go on in the Arctic, to work right in these models, existing and new. I mentioned new because we have I guess about a $20 million a year project, ambitious project to extend a branch of the community Earth system modeling to high resolution to run on some of the exascale machines that are just coming online. And one of the sort of test case use cases that ACME is targeting is an Arctic-related case, actually cryosphere-related case on land and sea ice fate and modeling and how that affects not only the sea ice extent, but also the sea level rise that would be impacted. So we also, in DOE, have a lot of the ocean and sea and land ice modules in the CESM portfolio. But the projects also support atmospheric processes as well, and I'm going to go through a couple of investments in there that involve that. Renu Joseph is the program manager of that part. In the atmosphere, getting to our working group, again, our investments include the facilities and some of the observations that is done under ARM, and the process research projects that are funded under my program, Atmospheric System Research. We have been in the Arctic for a while at ARM. We have had a long-term site at what we call it the NSA, or Northern Slope of Alaska project in Bearer, which is right next to the NOAA, coupled with the NOAA site up there. And we provide a lot of remote sensing infrastructure there. We're primarily in the Arctic overall and in ARM overall interested in things that affect the global radiation balance. So not only measurements of radiation itself, but aerosols, clouds, and other atmospheric things that actually interact with global radiation. The facilities, the ARM facilities up there, are heavy on these kind of measurements. From the process standpoint, we're interested in the same sort of thing. What are the atmospheric processes that impact radiative balance and hydrological cycle? And I've listed a few of the topics that we actually have funded work on, clouds and aerosols, aerosol transport, vertical structure. Those are in there, you can read them. So if you move on to the next slide, let me go through some of these things in detail. The NG Arctic project I mentioned in the terrestrial ecosystem science research portfolio is a fairly large, multi-year, multi-laboratory project led by DOE National Labs. And the goal of that is to look at land-based processes and look over the scale from really basically almost the individual field scale up to the Earth system model grid cell to try to piece together the phenomena that are going on that drive both the permafrost extent and fate, and some of the greenhouse gas emissions and other ecological related processes. And they're looking to do this in a sense in a kind of an orderly fashion where they can generate scale-aware predictive relationships that can be coupled into our land modeling program. Again, Mike Cooperberg and Dan Stover in our organization lead that process. It's in its third year, I think, and it's just undergone a progress review. Moving on to the next one. In the modeling program, next slide, I'm sorry. Can we advance? Okay, thank you. I think one more back.
Sorry, it's being sticky. Okay, one more back. This one, regional Arctic system model?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know if if I'm just seeing the delay on the slides or if everybody is, but.
No, there's a delay for me too. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, no problem. I'm just queuing off the visual here. Renew Joseph manages another fairly large and long-term project called the Regional Arctic System Model, and this is not exclusively atmospheric. Actually, it's I want to say multimedia coupled model enterprise, and then the goal of this was to have a high-resolution model that was sort of a test bed for, again, Arctic-specific physics and processes. And as you see, that's been going on since 2007 and is, again, it's just undergone a review process. It does have an atmospheric component in addition to the ocean and ice components, and I think the next slide kind of Renu's listed some of the atmospheric interactions. Thank you. And again, RASM, they're trying their best to deal with details of cloud radiation coupling, how the land, the atmosphere, and the ice couple and interact, and trying to get some of the relationships into the models, well, rightly represented into the models again, so that it can be applicable both to the actual ground level physical processes, but also the extension into Earth system climate models. So moving on to the next one. The other large effort that Renew has in this area, and this is exclusively a modeling project, is what we call the high latitude science focus area at several DOE national labs. And this is an extension of the ocean and sea ice modeling work at Los Alamos and some of the atmospheric parameterization work at Pacific Northwest National Lab, and pretty much focusing some of our, again, community Earth system model based processes into the specific problems of the Arctic environment. And one of the things that I've got kind of highlighted in there is they've this project has done a little bit of looking in terms of things like black carbon transport, and I think in the lower right they kind of have some work in that area highlighted. Okay, well, moving on. I guess the only reason I mentioned these other pieces is they are highlighted in, say, the modeling group. I think they have some representation on the CIS group, and we might see them in some intergroups things. But these are active projects within our division that are relevant to have some atmospheric spinoffs. But more to the point of what I know about, the Armed Climate Research Facility is our observational hub for atmospheric research. DOE has a user facility model where we have a lot of things like synchrotrons, neutron sources, and various things that that people in the community can actually bid for time on or propose for time on, and sort of are set up to be a general service to the user community, the scientific community in general. The ARM has the same paradigm, but the community of focus here is the atmospheric science community. So with that, the ARM has several fixed sites, of which one is the Bearer site, several mobile sites which are deployed for periods of 6 months to 2 years or something like that, actually an aerial facility, various planes involved, and a hybrid site we call I call a semi-mobile facility, just going in at a Liq Talk point. All these sites provide fast turnaround data related to aerosols, clouds, and radiation processes. So moving on to the next slide, we will. I'll see what we see. Yeah, our facilities, especially the mobile facilities, have been deployed all over the world. The red ones are things that are no longer active in either field campaigns or permanent site deployment. But if you look at the green sites, the Bearer, Alaska NSA site and the Liq Talk Point site are our Arctic deployments. We also have, if you look over in Huhtala, Finland, there's a recently completed field campaign, and the ongoing field campaigns are actually what we list as upgoing in this slide. We have a deployment on a ship, the Ron Brown, of the device that is proposed for the Mosaic, and down at the bottom there, we will have the same second mobile facility deployed in McMurdo, Antarctica. So we're hitting the other pole for that project. The next slide. At Liq Talk is one of our 2 new sites, and we're still in the process of getting all of our instrumentation in. We've got our it's been operational since 2013. We have a lot of our remote sensing equipment up and running, LiDAR and radar, and we are in the coming year, this year, installing an aerosol observing system, which is roughly comparable to the aerosol system at Bearer. We're also, some of the other things we like about this site is that we have airspace dedicated for us, so we can actually have tethered balloons and unmanned aerosol unmanned aerial systems deployed out of it on arrangement with the FAA. We actually have some UAS flights planned for this year and later this year. This site is available for visitors. You notice the visitor in the upper right-hand corner. All non-polar bear visitors have to be U.S. citizens because it is on an Air Force base, but it is available for proposal for joint or user campaigns out of the site, and ARM has a process for requesting that. Moving to the next one. In addition to the fixed and what we're required to call mobile facility at the Liq Talk, we do some Arctic-related projects on proposal with our mobile facilities. So the lower hand side is not the Arctic; it's actually in Manaus, Brazil. We are deployed there with one of our facilities. The upper one, our upper picture is taken in Finland, where we've just finished the smear campaign, so that has a boreal emphasis on that. Move on to the next slide. We see some of the deployments we've got in mind. The Finland campaign, we call it BAKE, was set up in southern Finland. The smear station of Helsinki has been making some really state-of-the-art aerosol-related measurements for decades, and we brought some complementary equipment that they were interested in so that we could look at atmospheric cloud processes in addition. By all accounts, it's been a successful campaign. It's completed, and the device has been moved now. It's moving down to Antarctica after some refurb. But that's been an example of the kind of campaigns we can do on proposal requests. This came out of a joint group led by some Finnish researchers. Okay, next slide. This is not Arctic, I understand, but we're for the first time going to Antarctica in sort of a joint project with NSF and looking for some energy balance issues both at McMurdo and sort of the West Antarctic ice shelf. And that preparations for that are occurring now.
Ashley, sorry to interrupt. I was just curious who the principal investigator or investigators are on that.
Dan Lubin is the PI on it. We have a couple of co-Is in the DOE process. I know one of them is who I'm not sure who at Brookhaven. I think possibly Andy Vogelman. I'm not sure. And Hans Philenda at Penn State University. But the cognizant PI is Dan Lubin at Scripps.
So Ashley, it's Martin Jeffries. Is NSF actually funding some of the investigators, or is NSF simply providing the logistics support to get the facility out onto the remote ice sheet?
So far, primarily logistics, Martin. There may be some collaborative work at the edges, but mostly it's sort of our campaign, and you guys, NSF has been hosts.
Okay, thanks.
And if I have an update on that, I'll let you know. But that's, to my knowledge, that's the way it is. Okay, moving to the next slide. I've mentioned just ongoing campaigns, some of which don't have a great overlap with the folks here, but we've had some major campaigns in the Arctic in the past, and most of them have been multi-agency or paired with the other agencies. The the Sheba experiment in '97 involved a bunch of actors. I guess we were primary on the MPACE Arctic Cloud experiment in the fall of 2004. Coupled with that was the ISDAC campaign in 2008 in the spring, where we looked at different seasonal cloud aerosol impacts. ISDAC was not by itself collaborative, but it was coincident with several campaigns with other agencies. NASA had some major stuff going on then, as did NOAA, and I think there was even a European aspect to it, but I'm not there. I'm not the person to speak to it because I'll misspeak. ARM has sort of committed ourselves as sort of the opening salvo in the Mosaic campaign. We've committed the ARM mobile facility, the shipborne one, to go on the icebreaker, assuming the Polar Stern can be committed to get it on. And the campaign PI is basically, I think, beating the bushes to try to interest other agencies, and I think this is something we've seen before in our group, and on our team and others. So I think we have high hopes for a successful campaign in that. But I know it's still coming together in the process. We have a few smaller campaigns, but those are the kind of big historical things that we have had an interest in and sort of put major investments in. Actually, we have again, for those who have a presence up there and some degree of research support, both of our facilities can take small campaigns and host them for guest instruments or joint deployments, and as often as not, we have a couple going at any given time. So, we're delighted to have coworkers and collaborators. Okay, moving on. And by the way, feel free to interrupt me as Martin did, because we will. Well, okay, getting down to my project, my program. ARM funds the actual physical infrastructure deployment for all these campaigns. The research efforts funding comes out of my program, Atmospheric System Research. And several of the campaigns you've seen before have some funding even before and during the campaign from us, and certainly after the campaign to harvest and analyze the data and make use of it. We have, in addition to that, we have just selected and not yet in the process of awarding a new Arctic-related site science project. Actually, two of them. One, we try to have on each new site, if you will, a group that's sort of a champion, science champion for that site. And so we've had a solicitation this last year and have selected one for the Eastern North Atlantic site in the Azores and another for the two North Slope sites. And the winning team for that was led by Heist de Boer. I don't know if he's on the call because he's probably in the middle of the CSD preparation, but he's certainly on the collaboration group team. We also have, in response to topical calls from Atmospheric System Research, several topical proposals, and I've listed there a few of the specific process topics: mixed phase clouds, ice nucleation, ice habitat, and growth from just all perspectives, lab modeling, observational, and measurement techniques for ice for mixed phase clouds and so forth from a remote or in situ standpoint, because it's just a lot of tough nuts to crack in the measurement game, as you know. Every year we have topics that typically include Arctic relevant processes. In other words, in the cycle that we had this year, we specifically called for convection and microphysics processes that, attracted some Arctic-related proposals, which are still under evaluation. So that's all I can say about them. But that will probably continue in the future. We are interested enough in targeted processes of relevance to the Arctic atmosphere that we will presumably have proposal calls that address that. So I guess that is the extent of my long-winded talk. If there's any questions anybody has, anything I've left out or that you want to add, just feel free.
So, Ashley, this is Renee Tatusco. I don't know if you've spoken with Renew Joseph, but she received an email from Thomas Young for a save the date for the upcoming Year of Polar Prediction Summit that will take place in Geneva in mid-July. And it seems to me that not only her program, but also your program would make a nice contribution towards the mission of the YOP. And I, did, of course, see, your commitment to Mosaic. But I guess I might suggest that perhaps you touch base with Renew and ask her, number one, did she receive and read that save the date email, and would she be willing to share it with you? And so I would urge you to consider possibly participating in that YOP Summit in Geneva in mid-July.
Okay, yeah, later on in the call, we're going to address the YOP workshop week after next, webinar. But, yeah, I'm not sure I got one, but I will definitely check with Renew on it. And one of the dirty little secrets about DOE is we're very efficient in our program direction funds, and one of those efficiencies is not letting the program managers travel an awful lot. So it's not a given that we'll be able to come to it, but we're going to elevate this to our division head, and we'll see.
Okay, and if DOE is not able to attend, there will be other agencies who are planning to attend, and we would be happy to ensure that DOE's commitment is passed along to the chair.
Thank you. Anything else?
This is Sandy. A couple comments. It's really nice to see all of this together, and from what I understand within your group, it's the meeting I think you're having the week of the 15th. You specifically bring your PIs together for sort of all hands meetings and some kind of integrated thinking. Could you speak about that a little bit and how that operates? And
yeah, I'm not dead sure how this matches up with what other agencies do. We're probably a little more directed, but DOE traditionally has what they call annual PI meetings, and basically within a program or program element, we try to get everyone together and present their research results for the program managers to evaluate and process. But also the ASR one in particular is we try to make it a forum for collaboration, interaction, sort of multi-project thinking and planning. This coming meeting is both ASR and ARM centered, so it's going to be about 4 days worth of dealing with really our entire atmospheric portfolio and what's going on in it. There are several, again, processes that are relevant to our community, the Arctic community, in terms of ice processes, ice-related atmospheric processes, and other. But I mean, it's basically like a three-ring circus in terms of interest groups within our community, DOE community. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's what's going to happen in 2 weeks, and why I'm not going to be at the YOP webinar.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a really nice model, and I think it is a bit unique. Maybe Martin's program does something similar in terms of drawing PIs together around topical things, but I think it's been a while since NSF has done that, and I've heard some calls from the community that that NSF PIs would like to see some activity in that direction. And then one other comment I would say that I think is really nice and unique to DOE is the archive, the ARM archive, and the investment that you guys have made in that cyber infrastructure for making your data sets available, I think has been really helpful to the community. And of the atmospheric data sets, there's something like 150 available data sets from the North Slope of Alaska, and some of them are decades long. So that's a really nice investment that DOE's made. That's, I think,
yeah, ARM really was intentional about that, and hopefully that's been effective and good community service.